Okay, so when you look at the focus of my project, it is to use new media tools to enhance engagement when researching. So I went ahead and I thought about when I have used this, and I have used this topic for animal research within my classroom. So I, again, using reading and writing Common Core State Standards, chose to kind of revamp this unit and put it online using new media tools so that students would be able to do their animal research with less cognitive load and more engagement. So if you look at the homepage, it kind of gives a little introduction about what the unit's about, and then it's two tabs, one for the student view and one for the colleague view. So you can click on student view and it kind of opens you right up, or you can also get it from here. And then the introduction, it gives a little overview about what the unit's about, what kind of tools they'll be seeing in the lessons, and then what is in each lesson. And then there's a recording here for students to listen to if they're struggling readers or this is too much text for them or hard to understand. They can go ahead and listen to it here to get that same information. And then there's a quick tab right here for them to click on to go to lesson 1. And then it is easily viewed right here that it is lesson 1, so they know they're on the right page. Every lesson is set up the same, so objectives, a little review about what it is they're looking for in this lesson. And then each lesson starts with number 1, which is a video either on YouTube or Edpuzzle. I chose to use the videos I did based on the check for understanding questions within the videos. So I've taken videos and put them on Edpuzzle to create the questions, and then the YouTube videos already had questions embedded in them so that they could check for their own understanding while they're listening to the video, make sure they're understanding before they move on to step 2. In step 2, they will always see here a video of me as a screencast of me modeling how to do the research using the tools they're using for that lesson. So for example, this one, they're using Science Kids, the Science Kids website, and so I'm showing them and modeling for them how they're going to find the information they need. And then in part 3, it is their assignment. It's bullet pointed for them to easily follow, and then down below is a recording for them to hear it if they're struggling to get through the bullet points. And then right next to it is the tab to the material they're going to need for that lesson. So if they click it, it opens up to the Google Doc, which is a sign-up sheet, and then it gives them an example of what it should look like once they've signed up. And then again, below that is an easy tab to click to go to lesson 2. Lesson 2 is set up very similar to lesson 1. It shows exactly that they're on the right lesson, the objectives, the review, and then the video, the screencast, and then the next assignment. And then again, there's a tab for them to click to be able to follow to get to their notes page that they'll be using. They'll make a copy of this as it says in the bullet point assignment directions, and then they'll be using this throughout all the lessons to collect their research. And then below that is the recording again, and then from here through lesson, I believe it's 5, they will be recording videos on Seesaw. So the code is here for the Classroom Seesaw page. It's linked, and then they just go and they make a quick video where they will be able to kind of explain what they found during this lesson for their animal. And they again click on Unit 3 or Lesson 3 tab, and then it opens up to Lesson 3, and it's set up exactly the same. When they get to Lesson 6, it changes a little bit. They're no longer researching, they're now making a citation page using their notes page they've used throughout the lessons. And again, here's a tab for them to find the resources they're going to use. So they're going to use a citation page. It looks like this. It's also modeled in the screencast video, and what they're going to do is create their citation page using their notes that they've collected and the sites they put on there, the resources they put on their notes page to help them find their research. And then for the last lesson, it's the project. And then what they're going to do, again, they see their objective, they see what their assignment looks like in bullet form, they have a recording there to explain it, and then there are lots of examples. So there's Google Slides that are linked, and then there's an example to it. There's a Glogster with an example, a Prezi with an example, and then below that are actual pictures embedded in of examples of projects they could create or similar projects. And then under that are what exactly they're going to need to include in their projects. And the final step before looking at the rubric is how to share their project. So they're going to go to this Google Doc, which is linked, as well as a button tab for them to access. They're going to put their name and the link to their project if they've done it online, and the directions also say if they haven't done it online, they'll just type in here that they've turned it into me. And then the last thing on that lesson is the rubric, which I have embedded for them to easily access and see what it is I'm looking for when I grade their projects. When you are ready to look at the colleague side, or if you are a colleague, what you'll do is you'll click on the colleague tab. It'll bring up the rationale first, so there's a Google Doc for you to easily access it to see in a different way, or you can read it right here. This is a justification about why I've used the tools I did to enhance engagement in my lessons. And then it gives you a tab to go to the first introduction. The pictures again look the same as in the student section, so they're aligned correctly. And then it gives a little more in-depth information about what it is they're going to find in each lesson. So all the materials for the unit are linked here. Gives an explanation, and then if you need to go back to the rationale, you can do that here, or you can click on go to lesson 1, which it'll look exactly as lesson 1 in the picture, but then for the colleague side, it now has a description about that lesson. And then it also has an approximation of time for each step of the lesson, and then embedded or linked materials here that they'll use in that particular lesson. And for this one, there's also a video to watch before teaching about researching, so you can kind of get an idea about students and their online identification on the computer. And then lesson 2, same thing, there's a description, and then a time approximation for each part of the lesson, and then linked materials for you to look at and view. I did that so that a colleague could easily view the materials before they teach a lessons, and also if there's a lesson that they're just particularly trying to teach, maybe they're not trying to teach a whole unit, just a lesson or two, it's all right there individually for them in the lesson, so they're not trying to navigate through the whole thing trying to find the material. And for the animal research project, again, description explains the time frame that I would recommend for each part of the lesson, and then again the exact links and examples that were on the research page, as well as the other tools that they'll need to access this project online. I chose to make it like this because after I was reviewing feedback and stuff, I realized that having the pictures up here really helps navigate students and colleagues to view that they're on the right page. So something that I hadn't done was every page was this animal picture, and because it was such a big picture, it was hard to tell until you scrolled down if you were on the right lesson or not, so it looked like you were always on the same page. So what I went ahead and did, and I changed the pictures here so you knew that you had navigated to the right page before beginning. And then the other thing I did was for each lesson for students, I wanted to alleviate cognitive load, so I went ahead and I made all the lessons the same. After reading about cognitive load in this course, I realized that while it is very repetitive because they're seeing the same things over and over, they are different videos, different screencasts, different assignments, but by having the setup the same, it allows students to know exactly what they are looking at and what the the lesson plan is for each lesson in the unit, so they're not getting confused or having to learn new stuff. They know exactly what to look for when they're doing the lessons, and it's easy for them to kind of navigate through on their own. And I felt like by having all this stuff embedded in here, like the videos and stuff, they were able to go ahead and just watch them straight from the lesson. I know that some of these don't actually add up, but if you click it, it makes it bigger, or you can make it bigger for students to view. I know my students like to make screens full size when they're watching, so that choice is on there as well. But that way they don't have to navigate to different windows and try to come back to this lesson. It's already there. And I do have the Google Docs opening to a new page so that they can access them. I chose to put these Google Docs on there just to kind of help organization with students. They're engaged, they're sharing the work with me, and everything's in an organized way, so they're not losing stuff in folders and things. So that is why I chose to put those in there. And so that is what I think makes this unit so successful, and I think makes it work.